Recording. Okay, so I said that we weren't going to stay on this topic anymore, but then I found answers, and the credit to these answers goes to Rabbi Gil Student, because he's the one who showed me the sources. So they are from the Rambam's letters. Okay, if you've never read the Rambam's letters, and I'm not talking about the famous ones that he are like publication worthy for like essays, like letter on astrology, his personal letters. If you've never read them, then you're in for a treat, because you see a different side of the Rambam.
Wait, where did we get these letters from?
Well, a lot of them, I guess, have been known for a while, but many of them we got from the Cairo Geniza. And the what?
That just feels kind of creepy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of these are really personal letters. I mean, I saw, and stuff is still coming from the Geniza, like I don't know, every day, but in real time. So someone just sent me a letter from the Rambam's brother that he wrote to the Rambam right before he died, and it's like a personal letter between brothers, and because no one ever thought that the Geniza letters were gonna be found, But anyway, this is the best edition of the Geniza, of the Rambam's letters, and I think they call it the Shelot edition by Yitzchak Shelot. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna read is the excerpt from where the Rambam describes his brother's death and the Rambam's subsequent depression. Okay, very very moving. Okay, you'll see. So this is in the middle of a letter to Rav Yefes Hadiyan. No idea who that is. And he says like this. He's talking about what's happened to him. It says, Gam eruli tsaros rabos gluyos be'eretz Mitzrayim. Tons of horrible tragedies happened to me in the land of Mitzrayim. Mechalayim, including illness, v'hefsed mammon, and loss of money. Va'amidas mosrim alai lahargeni, and people turning me into the government to try to kill me.
This
is the Rambam himself. Yeah, he's writing. No, this is from the Rambam to Rav Yefes Hadiyan. Okay, I don't know who this Dayan is. Oh, and by the way, just one more thing. Much of what the Rambam wrote is in Arabic, but this he wrote in Hebrew. So these are his exact words. Okay. So then he says, the worst thing that happened to me at the end was the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my whole life. Okay. That's the death of the righteous one of blessed memory. Okay, and who's that? Footnote, Hakvana la'achiv Rav David. So that's his brother David, his younger brother. Okay, so now he's going to describe it. Shetava b'yam hodu. He sank in the Indian Ocean. Okay, he in a ship sank. Uviado mamon, and he had in his possession mamon rav, a lot of money. Li v'lo la'achirim, my money, his money, and other people's money. V'hiniach bas katana v'almanasot etzli, and he left his youngest daughter his young daughter and his wife, his widow, with me. Meaning the Rambam became in charge of caring for his sister-in-law and niece. Yeah, right. V'nisharti achrav. Oh no, this is the amazing part. Okay, v'nisharti achrav kmoshana. I remained after that death for a year. Miyom shehigia hashmua hara. As soon as the news came to me, I remained. Nofel almita, bedridden, bishchinra, with boils, uvadalekes, and fever, uvatimhon levav, and however you want to translate timhon levav is mental instability, I guess. Now, I read that book, the English book I told you about. The guy used the term suicidal for the Rambam, and I was like, where does he see that the Rambam was suicidal? So I think it's from this line, the kimat kat haisi ovid, and a little bit more, and I would have died. So it seems like either he would have died of his anguish, or he, whatever. The achar kach ad hayom, and afterwards until today, kumo shmonim shana shanim. It's been 8 years since his death. Ani mis'albel v'lo hisnachamti. I'm still mourning and I can't be comforted. Uvameh esnachim. How could I be comforted? V'hu haya habein al birkai gadol. He was like a son to me, raised on my knees. Meaning, I don't know what the age difference was between them, but I guess he was a much older brother. V'hu haya ha'ach. He was my brother. V'hu ha'talmid, and he was my student. V'hu shaya noseh v'nosim bashuk umarviach ani yoshev lebetach. He would go out to the marketplace and do business and profit, and I would sit securely, meaning I was taken care of, and that's what we're going to get into. V'havin b'talmud mihera. He was quick at understanding Gemara. V'havin b'diktu kalashin yeser, and he was even quicker at understanding grammar. V'lo haisali simcha elabir oso, and nothing made me happier than seeing him. All right, this is a different side of the Rambam that you don't get from the Mishnah Torah. Okay, arva kol simcha Now I saw a translation of this that said all joy has gone, as if they were saying it's avar. I think arva kol simcha means like all joy has been like intermingled or like, tainted with like sadness. Arva kol simcha v'halach l'chaya olam, and it's gone on to his eternal life, meaning his brother is passed on to olam haba. V'hinichani nivhal be'eretz nachriya, and I am left confounded in a strange land. Kol eis she'era, and this is kol eis she'era ksav yado. Anytime I see his handwriting, sefer misfarv, or I see one of his books, yihafech alai libi v'or yugonai, then my heart is overturned and my depression is, my grief is aroused again. Klal shadavar, the sum of the matter, ki erid el b'nish avel she'ola. Who's that a quote from? That I will go down to the grave in mourning for my son. Nope. Yeah, Yaakov, right? So this is what Yaakov said about Yosef, that I'm going to die mourning. Velule haTorah hi shashuai, and were it not for the fact that the Torah was my literally my plaything, v'divrei hachachmos she'esh kach lehen yigoni, az avarti bani, and if it weren't for the fact that the Torah was my plaything and the matters of chachma which caused me to forget my grief, then I would have perished in my suffering. Because that's the Rambam writing about his brother.
Interesting, just that one word.
Yeah, that's a quote from Tehillim. It's not his own. Yeah, it's not his own thing. It's a weird. I mean, it's a question on David Hamelach, not a question on the Rambam. Okay, so now if you look at the footnotes here, okay, so we glossed over this line in our Rav Makbili footnotes. Okay, Rav Makbili. In fact, if you go to let's see, page just to show you so you can see where we missed it. Hilchos Sanhedrin Gimel. Halacha Yud, that's what we've been on. And then if you look in the footnotes, the wide lines, first word on the line is Yotzim L'Milchama. Sorry, sorry. Yeah, Yotzim L'Milchama. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines down in the wide lines. So the highlighted words next, the Harambam, or not highlighted, the blocky letters. Harambam Atzmo, he's parnas beheter mi isuko shal achiv David bekaspo shalo. So I read this, okay, as the Rambam himself got a livelihood permissibly from the business dealings of his brother David with his money. Now I read that as with his brother David's money, okay. Kamosha who made, as he testifies, and this is what we just read, Uviado Mamon Rav Li Velo Lacherim, and in his possession was a lot of money, mine and his and others. Okay, but now check this out. Footnote, this is back on the screen. My footnote, or I mean my PDF footnote from this. He says, "Shurlo leave lo lacherim." The money was mine, his, and others. Mashma sheRambam haya shutaf mamish b'schora. It's implied that the Rambam was business partners with his brother. Okay. V'Rabbi David haya biyachas elav matil melei lekis latamid chachamim, and David, his brother, was. And that was the phrase that I said I didn't know how to translate. Literally means someone who throws money into the wall of Talmid Chachamim, which means basically, he'll explain, is and we read this somewhere in one of these footnotes. But let's say like there's a Talmid Chacham, and he basically entrusts you to be his money manager, and you invest it, and then you get profit, and then the profit goes to him. Yeah, I think we even said those words. I just didn't connect the dots.
You buy stock?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Only back then, buying stocks involved traveling. This letter I just told you about that his brother wrote to him. I got to say this, okay? Just it's a crazy thing. So his brother wrote to him, saying that basically the Rambam might have heard that he died because he was on a caravan. They had to travel through the desert, and like almost everyone died. And his brother is like, I wanted to write to you as soon as possible because I thought that you might have thought that I died. And then he says, I just have one more business venture. I'm just going to go to India. And that's when he died. And he even says to the Rambam, he's like, I know you told me not to go. I'm going to go anyway. And it's just like one of these like chilling, things. Anyway, so then he says, that's what allowed the Rambam to sit securely, Torah. Perhaps, maybe specifically in this way, it's not like his brother was giving him money. As inyan Yisachar Uzvulun. Perhaps this is how the Rambam understood Yisachar and Zvulun. Now, I always thought Yisachar and Zvulun was Zvulun worked and then like supported Yisachar, right? So he's saying that maybe the Rambam understood the relationship to be like that, where where Yisachar basically of course, Yisachar had money. He gave it to Zvulun to invest in, what was Zvulun's trade? That was on the seas.
How does that work? I mean, like, here's an individual, what, that'd be like, it's like a country investing in another country.
No. Literally, the brothers, Yisachar and Zvulun. Right, that's what Chazal say about them, right? Is that one of them learned and the other one did business?
I thought it was supposed to be the tribe.
No, not the tribes. Yeah. I get, you're right. I went to the what was his business and I thought about the tribes bracha, but yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
so much more sense.
Yeah. The Shimon Achi Azariah. I don't know who Shimon and his brother Azariah were. It must be in the Gemara. Hanishka b'midrash Chazal. Ki tachin she'adam hamafarnes es achiv b'chinam. Oh, sorry. And he also says it's possible that someone who supports his brother Eino bichlal hadvarim hamukubalim bein bnei adam kishein sham chachma is not included in the heter that we mentioned before of anything that you would do to someone who's not a chacham is okay. But if you would only do it to Talmid Chachamim, then it's a problem. So he's saying basically like if we said before that if there's a certain financial arrangement that you give even to non-Talmid Chachamim, then Talmid Chachamim can partake of that. But if it's only to Talmid Chachamim, then you run into the Rambam's problems. But he's saying it's possible that the brother arrangement is not like that. But he says it's possible also to say that even according to the letter of the law, then his brother can support him for free. Why? Which I had to look up, since the initiative for this arrangement is coming from the brother who wishes to support him. And the Rambam only agreed to put in his own money as a midas chasidus. So in other words, he's saying like this. He's really saying two theories. Theory number one is that if the Rambam was investing his own money, then that's totally fine. That's just business partners. And the Rambam indicates this because he says that the stuff that was lost in the ocean when his brother sank was my money and his money and other people's money. If it was just his brother giving him gifts, it would be his money and other people's money, you know? Secondly, he's saying that it's possible that the whole brotherly support thing would not even be in this category in the first place, as long as his brother initiated it and the Rambam wasn't like imposing it on him.
Why is that true? That if his brother initiated it, then it would be in that category?
Was it? Maybe, but I think he's saying it clearer now, which is that because people support their brothers, you know, it's a thing that people do. That's in the category of things you would do even for someone who's not a Talmud Chacham. Like,
what he's saying, it's not in that category?
He's saying, did I either I?
He's saying that you don't even use you're offering to others, anyone who can offer his brother his friend. Right.
Meaning, my understanding is that since people, let's say the Rambam were not the Rambam, let's say he was just an Amharat and his brother wanted to support him, that would be fine. So since it's not in a category that's like distinct, specific to Talmid Chachamim, then that's fine.
I understand that. That makes sense. But it's possible I just misunderstood something.
It's possible I'm also misunderstanding or miscommunicating.
Right. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
I think like that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I thought that we were saying that this I don't know who's writing this, but this guy was saying that like the Rambam didn't even need that.
Yeah.
That
right.
Category.
So
this is like a different category. It sounds like we're saying it's that category.
Yeah, he is saying that mi'ikradin had mutter af b'china mamish. It would be permissible even if the Rambam wasn't contributing anything to it, since the arrangement comes from the brother. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if that's one answer or two answers, because he introduces it with an ach yesh lemer. However, you can say, which seems to take it out of this heter of she'ein sham chachma.
Right, maybe he's just adding to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's the question matter.
A couple more, two more cases. Okay, we're not going to read this whole thing, but this next letter, this is also written in Hebrew to Ephraim Matzor. No clue who that is. So in this letter, he says, hold on, line 16. He says, he talks about, and I'm not even going to look at the context here, or will I? Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah. V'davar yaduahu, it is known, shal gobe mas o kesef kugolta o seudas hamelach v'yotze b'zeh min hatamid chachamim shehu over al divrei Torah v'divrei neviim v'divrei ksuvim. K'moshe amru avar mar ad oraisa v'adi neviye v'adi chsive. Okay, I don't know. Min hatamid chachamim. He's saying anyone who collects a tax or a head count tax or a king's meal from Talmidei Chachamim. Oh yeah, that's what he means. If you collect tax from Talmidei Chachamim, right, these taxes that they're supposed to be exempt from, then you're in violation of Divrei Torah and Nevi'im and Ksuvim. Okay, but all we need is this one line. V'lo dayan she'ein oskim b'malachtecha v'torchin laharviach lach. We're not talking about a judge who is not involved in his own work and toiling to profit you. Hold on. You know, I don't understand the context of this. I'm only reading this for the footnote. The footnote says, so he quotes the Pirush Mishnah's La'avos Dalad Zayin, Mavur Shish, Lahavdil min Kabbalas Tamicha Parnasim Echarim Aidei Lomdei Torah, Shehi Asura. So he says, you can, based on the Rambam and Avos, you can differentiate between a Talmidei Chachamim who collect support and a livelihood from others in order to support their Torah learning. Between that and Talmidei Chachamim who are supporting themselves, but you are paying them so that they don't have to waste a lot of their own time. Kagon, for example, like helping them invest their money or helping them sell their merchandise. That is something that is permissible and you get a great reward for it. And that's what we call people who contribute to the wallet of Talmidei Chachamim. The permission to do this is because oh, this was just what we read. The reason for this is because people in business do this with each other for kavod, even though there's no chachma there. This is the line I wanted to get to. Which I think we've read before. It's enough if we treat the Talmid Chacham like a distinguished Amharetz. Meaning, if you would do this for an Amharetz and you just happen to be doing it for the Talmid Chacham to make it easier, then that's fine. And that's not the same thing as making a living, a Talmid Chacham making a living off of people supporting him. Okay, one more, and this brought up a new source. So this is to another student who is who's a Rosh Yeshiva, not a student, a Rosh Yeshiva, and he's warning him about opening a yeshiva. Okay, he says, "V'amnam asher zacharta min ha'halicha leBaghdad, hine hirshisicha shetiftach midrash uslamet Torah kahalacha." Says, "I'm allowing you to go." Maybe it was a student. I'm allowing you to go to Baghdad and open up a base midrash and teach Torah, im hashkida yediyas hachibur, and studying the Mishnah Torah there. Okay, ava choshashni lecha, but I'm warning you, shier lecha katatos imahim tamid. You're going to get into fights with them constantly. And the only benefit that's going to come from this is the fights. Okay, the only thing you're going to get out of it.
Comics that were is being my great grandfather, which was ended up being almost such for him because he just got up very effective in the community. Like at first, it was like two big basically one where I guess the Mizrahi building was sold to a church, which you didn't approve in a second. Where apparently this Jewish baker was I guess like for the post Pesach rush, we would start baking before Pesach was over. The worker who was living there tattled.
Yeah.
And he said, and regardless, it was altered to the victim.
Yep, that was the that's what happens when you're shul rav is you get psak and they don't like the psak and then they don't like you. Yeah. So yeah.
He was making his own.
All right, and the rest is history. The ode, and furthermore, and this is the one we want to get to. If it becomes necessary for you to teach Torah, yivtal mischarcha, you will be idle. You'll be batal from your trade. V'lakachas mehem. And to take from them, lo yatzcha. I don't advise you to take anything from them. Elazuz echad mechayatus o nagarus or ariga al dercha histakrus ahuvetzli mirushus roshagalios. So only if you do it permissibly. Okay, so this is the footnote that we wanted to get to. So he quotes here, if you have a Mishnah Torah, if you look at Hilchos Sanhedrin, okay, I'm going to put it on the screen anyway, but Hilchos Sanhedrin 23:5. Sefer Shoftim. Got it? Yeah. Well, so on the screen first is 23.5 in Sanhedrin. So he starts off by saying, I don't know who this Bennett guy is. I guess he's a Rambam scholar. Bennett Kasav, Bennett writes on this. V'yishli tumuah shaRambam lo hizkir kan es iser hahana midivrei Torah amad alav b'tokef b'pirish al ha'avos. He says, why didn't the Rambam mention the prohibition to derive benefit from Torah like he does at length in Pirkei Av or in Avos?
Why should you just say,
Yeah.
I advise you not to?
Right. Sounds like advice, not like strict prohibition. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you picked up on the same thing. Ach ein kantema. He says we shouldn't be astounded. Haramam modeh, the Rambam admits sheschar batela demuchach mutter, that payment for sitting idly, which is evident, is mutter. Kamavur b'gemar kesubos kuf he amad aleph v'kach pasuk b'Hilchos Sanhedrin chav gimel he. So let's read that. By the way, if you think about it, maybe Chaim already saw the answer, but what else do we have to be concerned about if you're paying a judge? What other Torah provision?
Being
Bribed. Okay, so that's the context here in Hilchos Sanhedrin. Kol dayan shenatos schara ladun. Any judge who takes a salary to judge, dinav batelim. His psak is invalid. Interesting.
Right, because you pay judges.
Right. V'hu shelo yihiyeh schar hanikar. This is as long as it is not a recognizable payment. Sorry, this is if it is not a recognizable payment. Okay, what does that mean? About im haya osik b'malachto, if the judge has his own job. This is the case basically the Rambam mentioned in the Pirush Mishnayos, but this is where he codifies it. Ubal lefanav shnaim ladin, two people come before him to get judged. V'amar lahen, and he says to them, Tenuli mi sheyase tachtii ad she'adun aleichem. Give me someone to replace me at work until I judge you. Oh, tenuli schar batalasi, or give me payment for being idle from work. Harizeh mutter, that's permissible. V'hu shehi hadavar nikar, that's only if it is like visible that this is the arrangement. Shu schar habatala bilvad below yoser, that it's just payment for like his being idle from work, and that's it. So for example, like if it's known that he works for $15 an hour and the case takes 2 hours and they pay him $30, and it's known that they're just paying him to like sit out of work. And he also has to take from both of them equally, each one in front of the other, because otherwise you could say that he's favoring one. Kugon zem mutter. So like that is mutter.
Right. Also implicit in this case is he needs to have a job.
Yes, that is like the premise of the case. Yeah, right.
He doesn't currently have a job.
Right.
There's no way to facilitate this requirement.
Yeah.
Of having a recognizable.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Also, another case of where are you going to be talking about support for, I guess, there was personal livelihood or support so you can have a bill?
For who? The judge?
No, not judge.
Oh, the what?
The letter.
The letter. Oh,
You need to have the building.
no, it seems like you mean which hold on a second.
The most recent letter.
The most recent letter, the one that we're on right now. You're talking about? Yeah, right. The Baghdad guy. Okay, hold on. I'm just remembering what the facts here. He's saying, if you need to teach, then I advise you not to do that because you've told me scharcha, you will have to stop your trade, v'lakachas mehem, and take from them. Lakachas mehem. I don't know what that is because this footnote here, which we're not reading, says akavana ulai lepsicha leprakim haniskarim shel sov ha'chel karishon klomer leperik. I don't know what he means. But wait, is this even the footnote on this thing? No, that's a different footnote. Footnote 2. Is that what we're reading? So many footnotes. Klomer lekachas skar mehatalmidim. Oh, meaning you have to take like tuition from the students. And me'avosem, or from their parents. V'shemagam kan hakvan l'rosh yeshiva Omar Zacharia shahayu mamanim esbatim midrash b'Baghdad min ksafim. Yeah. Sorry. Let's just finish reading this footnote though and see if this is going to answer. V'chlas skar betela, and included in this skar betela, the evidence skar betela who gam kasher la'adam yesh miktsoa shumis parnas mimenu is when a person has. I just looked this word up. Miktsoa. It's another modern Hebrew word. Miktsoa is a calling, profession, trade, occupation, vocation, or subject. So when a person has a job, right, an occupation, shehu misparnes mimeno, that he's being supported from, ubayim elav mavakshim, and people come to him and ask, lamod itanu Torah, osanu Torah, odun lanu bekvius, learn Torah with us, or judge for us in a permanent position. V'anu nitan lecha maskores kvua, and we'll give you a fixed salary. Al batlascha me'esek parnasascha, and a fixed salary for your livelihood. So that's a different arrangement.
That's okay.
That's okay. He's saying, yeah. He's saying he's saying because it's evident that you're being, the terms of the contract are we're paying you to learn with us or to judge us constantly. That sounds like it shouldn't be. Oh, sorry. We're paying you so you don't have to work in order that you could be available to do this.
Right.
Yeah. Pasuk Hilchos Shkalim Dalad Zayin Shedayani Gazelos should be Yerushalayim Hayim Makablim Maskoras Kavua Mikesfe Hatzibor. We read that in Shkalim where the judges would receive a fixed salary. So what does the Rambam consider an Isser in Chil Hashem? Kasher hayuzma levakesh sachar o trumos alima Torah ba'a meish haTorah atzmo. So he does seem to care about who initiates it. He says the Rambam holds its Isser when the arrangement to get payment to support his Torah comes from the guy himself, from the Torah man himself. Shazohi asiyas haTorah kordem lachorbo. That's making the Torah into an axe. And lowering it to a job like any other job. Yeah, that he's saying that he said. Now I don't know where he gets this from the Rambam, but he says the Chil Hashem comes if the Talmud Chacham himself initiates the arrangement, says like pay me money to like teach you or pay me money to learn. But if people come up to him and say we want you learning here, quit your job. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Mikol makom yoser ratu yoser umidas pasidus lo lihizakik lemaskoras midivrei Torah klal afilu bo'ohen hamuter. Okay, fine. That's what we skipped yesterday. It's better off if he by midas pasidus if he doesn't require a salary for Torah at all. Afilu bo'ohen hamuter, even in a permissible way. Vafilu lefi yuzma sam shel acherim, even if other people ask him. Ki mikol makom yesh bazeh mishum hefsed mesuyam mikras avas hamala, because that will lead to another trap called loving your position of like stature, shebein rav latamid. Okay, fine, that's a separate issue. I think that's all we need. Yeah.
Just two questions.
Yeah.
Why is the Rambam saying like, and if you're gonna go over yeshiva there, then like you're gonna have to rely on like money from them. Like why is he assuming that? Why couldn't he just get a job there?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard. One of the things that's hard to tell about these Geniza letters, like look, for example, this ... means we don't have the beginning of the letter. And I don't know, we don't know all the personal circumstances here. And, there's one of the things I like about this edition is in the beginning of each letter, the R Shelat basically tells you everything we know about the circumstances of the letter and like why he wrote it and like, if there's anything ambiguous in the text, but I just didn't read through that for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, one other question.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's saying like it wouldn't be a problem if somebody comes to you to negotiate, like, and this might be too big of a question because I don't have like a particular to contrast it with. That would be a contradiction, but I just feel like that doesn't seem like easy in my mind to like reconcile that with like all the other things he was saying. Like I feel like he was saying
so the key point according to Rav Shelat's analysis is that there's schar betela demuchach. That's the case in the judges where it's clear that you're being paid for your hourly rate of your other job as opposed to taking a bribe. And then he's extending that and saying if they give you a fixed salary on those same terms so that you don't have to go to work, then that's also in that same category of schar betela demuchach, of evidence work of payment for idleness. So he's extending the same principle to not like one day two people come to ask you for judgment, but like we want you to be available to judge whenever we need you.
Okay, but is that exclusive to judging?
No, so he's saying it's for all hana from Torah. Yeah. Now the difficulty, well here's the difficulty about all of these things, or not all of these things. See, the answer that he gave for that he was a business partner with his brother, that seems easy, and that he wouldn't have to say. I feel like something like this he would have to say more explicitly, but then again maybe not, because the Rambam does say that like every question that you have about these things he's either going to answer explicitly or give you the principle from which you can derive it, and that's what he's doing from this. I have my own one, but this is the yeshiva's copy.
Okay. Can you look at like what page is it?
Yeah, the one that we're doing right now is on page Shin Yud Beis, or really Shin Yud Aleph is where we started. Okay, so I think that's the conclusion of the topic for now. Okay, we good? Okay.
The brother's letter to him, or we're not gonna read that.
We don't have to. I mean, it's not really contributing to this, but yeah, it's not Rambam Bekius, Rav David Ben Maimon. I don't know if he was a Rav, but yeah. Okay, so now back to where we left off in Hilchos Torah. Okay, Perek Aleph.
Quick change of pace.
Yeah. Aleph Ches. It's on page 148. So up until now, he's been talking about teaching Torah. Now he finally begins to talk about learning Torah. Such a good thing. Okay. Here's what he says. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Kol ish Yisrael. Every Jewish male. I don't know why it says ish. I don't know why it says ish. Doesn't he usually say Adam?
Maybe because he's specifying man and woman.
Maybe, but I feel like he also uses. We'll have to check later. I'm not going to do a search now. Kol ish. I mean, that's a good read, but I just don't know if it's true. Kol ish Yisrael chayav b'Talmud Torah. Each and every man in Israel is obligated in Talmud Torah. So it's like he's starting over, just like we are, right?
And how do we define Talmud Torah again?
So in the Sefer HaMitzvos, he says Talmud Torah is learning or teaching and learning Torah. Okay.
Presumably that's the working translation he's working with.
Yeah, presumably. Bein ani, bein ashir, whether you are poor or you're rich. Bein shalim begufo, bein bal yisurin, whether you have a healthy body or whether you're full of afflictions. Bein bachur, bein shayazakin gadol shetashash kocho, whether you're a young, what do they call them, a spry youth, or whether you are a very old man who's weak. Afilu ani hamachazar al psachim, even a poor person who begs at the doors. Afilu bal isha obanim, even a married man who has a wife and kids. Chayav likbo lo zman l'Talmud Torah bayom uvalayla. They're obligated to establish a time for Talmud Torah by day and by night. Shnemar v'hagisa bo yom uvalayla. Now, what's weird about this halacha to you? I feel like there's weird things.
It's obvious.
That's obvious. Yeah. How would you have formulated the halacha? Like, yeah, period. And maybe throw in the thing of chayav likbo lo zman b'yom uvalayla, like, because that's a new halacha, like making a set time for learning in day and night. But what's all the havminas of? Oh, you might have had a havmina that if you are poor, you don't have to learn, or if you have bodily afflictions, you don't have to learn, or if you are.
Or no, I'm thinking of me right here. What?
You don't think that like other than
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is you don't say like everyone's obligated in tefillah, even if you're poor, even if you have lots of kids, you know.
Maybe that's the thing. Like, isn't that gonna like maybe by other mitzvahs there is a reality like, oh, if you're really sick, then you don't have to do it. But like,
But even if that's the case, you know, then he doesn't say that in the formulation of every mitzvah. In fact, no other mitzvah.
he doesn't say what that you don't have to do it if you're right.
He doesn't refute the havaminas
Right.
of these things for every other mitzvah, you know.
Other mitzvahs, there's just like individual things with Talmud Torah, sort of a always present thing, so it's a lot more fluid and easier following out of.
Okay. So I would say I would start the way where you started, but then put it in a more halachic way, which is Talmud Torah, like look at that pasuk, Higisa bo yom v'layla. You should think about it, or you should, however you want to say Higisa bo, some say speak, day and night. So it's a constant obligation. Okay. So the question is, how do you formulate that halachically? Does it mean that literally every second of the day you have to be learning? You know? So he does say a minimal amount, which is you have to be kovea zmanim. You have to set up fixed times in the day and in the night to learn. And I don't think he brings down this halacha, but you know what I think what we paskin like, what's the minimum amount of involvement in Talmud Torah that you have to do? Yeah, I think there's a minimum share. Yeah. Yeah, Shema. Saying the Shema, one pasuk of Shema by day and one by night, and then you're yotze the bare minimum, you know. Kriya Shema, yeah. You kill two birds with one stone. I think we pass them like that. I'll have to look it up. Yeah. obviously you're not going to become a Talmud Chacham, right? But I think we do possibly like that, but I'll have to check. So I don't know if that answers all the questions, but the question is like, if you have this chiyuv that is always upon you at all times, so then that's a very different kind of structure of a mitzvah than like, you know, say Kriya Shema twice a day, like daven once a day, pick up lulav on the 15th of Tishrei, you know? Now, does that explain the Havamina, or does that not explain the Havamina? Yeah.
Is there no other mitzvah like this that's like constant all the time?
Good question. So there are. Say again. Yikarim are not mitzvahs, but you're close though. No. Okay. So the Sefer Chinuch says that there are 6 mitzvahs which are on you all the time. Let's see if we can list all of them. So it's funny, he doesn't list Talmud Torah there. Yeah. I'll open up the source meanwhile. So you can see it inside with your own eyes. Oops. Nope. Say again? Nope. Because that, sorry, let me clarify. We're not just talking about times. We're talking like the only applies when there's a friend there. Yeah. Yeah. We are at Sifriya Shlema. You're going to think they're so obvious when you hear them. Not all of them. Yediyas Hashem, right? Knowledge, Anochi Hashem Ukacha, right? Yichud Hashem. Yeah. But they are.
What's the Yichud Hashem and Yediyas Hashem?
They're 2 separate mitzvahs. The Yichud Hashem, Yediyas Hashem is to know that God exists. And then Yichud Hashem is to constantly be refining your ideas of God's oneness. So 2 separate mental processes. Where's the Sefer Chinuch? Why am I not seeing him? Bahag Sadigon. Is he down lower? Oh, Chinuch. Here we go. Chinuch Hakdama. To the very, very end of the Hakdama. Oh, here we go. So he says like this. Let me make this bigger. He says. Where is it? Oh, here we go. The mitzvahs that a person is obligated in without any specific causes coming up. Haim bein kulam masayim v'shivim v'simanim. Okay, that's just everything. I started reading the wrong place. Blah blah blah. Oh, here we go. This one. Where's the sentence start? Where's the So he does say it in terms of time. I was wrong. The only ones that are not that you have to do at all times are 6 mitzvos, which have constant obligations. The obligation doesn't stop even for a moment. Lahamin Bashem. So that's Anochi Hashem Elokecha. 2, Shlo Lahamin Luzlaso. Lo Yeh Lecha Elohim Achirim Al Panai. Not to believe in other gods. 3, Liyachado, to unify God in your mind. 4, La'ava Oso, to love him. 5, Liyirim Oso, to fear him. And 6, Shlo Lasur Achar Machshavos Olev Riyas Hainayim. Not to stray after your heart and your eyes. Yeah. Why do we get here? Oh, because you were saying, are there no other mitzvahs like that? So Talmud Torah is different. Why? Yeah, apparently. So that's the weird thing, right? Is it's not all the time. It's day and night, right? It's day and night, you know. And I know that sounds like a cop out, right? But you know, there's a Gemara about when you're allowed to learn secular subjects, right? And one of the positions given there is it says you should learn Torah Yom V'Layla. So you're allowed to learn secular subjects when you have a time which is neither day nor night. That would be it. You got to go there to learn. The question is, how are you going to get there if you didn't learn science? Yeah, just pay Elon Musk. Yeah. Yeah. So It sounds like a cop out, right?
So therefore it's due, it's not.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for that question, I don't know the answers, but for your question about what's the difference between saying constantly versus day and night, I'm not sure.
Also,
Suffix.
also, was he listing Mr. Stuff like to everyone all the time, or was it the like to someone all the time?
Everyone. That's true. That's true. Maybe that's why he doesn't list this here, because this is only on men. Is that what you mean? Yeah. That's a good point. So this does apply all the time. He's saying that the Sefer Chinuch was listing mitzvahs that apply to all Jews all the time. This is only for men. Talmud Torah is only for men. So it would be, if women were chayav in Talmud Torah, then according to that, it would be that this is on the list. Yeah, that's an easier answer. Yeah. Also, by the way, the Rambam is not the one who says that there are 6 mitzvahs that apply all the time. So it's not like we need to fit him into that paradigm. But that's a good answer.
Some of them both harder to do and B not as connected to your daily life, such that other things will interfere. Yeah. So I was thinking along the lines that maybe this is why the Rambam has to spell out these havaminas, which is see, if I give you a specific task to do, like read the Megillah, so then you have to prioritize that. Okay. But if I say, oh, you have to learn Torah all the time, perhaps there is a way of thinking where you're like, okay, I'll fit it in where I can. And then it's very easy to slip into one of these modes where, well, I got to take care of my wife and kids, or I'm busy begging money at the door, and I'm exempt from this or something like that, So he's saying that no, all the time. That I know it's not a very halachic answer, but that's a big problem. Why does he have to specify even if you're poor or rich? Yeah. When you're asleep. Yeah. Right. That's also true. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's why I was trying to put it in terms of not socioeconomic status, but status of your I don't know, status, job, stages of life, a person will say, okay, I'm learning, but now I'm an old man and I barely have any energy. I'm out of the parsha. Yeah, right. Yeah, or no, Abal Yisurin, right? I have a lot of pain, Okay, so let's hold that and come back to it later, because he has another statement like this that makes you raise your eyebrows, why does he have to specify that? But this next one, by the way, I thought was part of the whole discussion about having jobs, because he says, Gedolei Chachamei Yisrael hayu mehen chodvei eitzim. The greatest Chachamim in Israel, some of them were wood choppers, mehen shovei mayim, some of them were water carriers, mehem sumin, some of them were blind. That's not a job, by the way. Nevertheless, they involved themselves in Torah day and night. And they are included in those who transmitted the Torah Shabbat person to person to Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah.
Okay, but you obviously can't be taking this thoroughly, because they couldn't have literally been doing it every single second if they were doing something else. Meaning he's clearly saying that they did it every opportunity that they had, but not that they did it every single waking second, because that would be a contradiction. You can't be working a job and learning at the same time.
Well, can't you?
I mean,
not if you can't have one as a job.
No, but why can't you be thinking about Torah when you're chopping your wood?
Right. Well, then I guess it's more of a question of how are you defining learning Torah.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of distinction there between sure, you could be engaged in a thought process that's always revolving around Torah all the time.
Right.
But is that qualifying for learning Torah?
I don't see why not.
Saying that there are various ones tasks. There we have people who can do at the same time as a kind of conversation. And then I would say, I guess you could do this in learning Torah that say two people on a company line talking with each other. And then, and then just instead of that, it would be put in your mind, I guess, to talking to each other over Torah.
Yeah.
The requirement would be to get a mindless job.
Right. I mean, and again, back then it was much easier to support yourself with a mindless job. Good luck trying to do that in
probably mindless.
A lot of them. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You're not doing it's very hard to be learning Torah while you're programming, writing code, Yeah. Right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm not dismissing your question. Your question is a good one, which is like, if the mitzvah is to learn it day and night, then like you can't do that literally. So does it just mean you max it out? I mean, is that the only point he's making? And by the way, just another point here. The pasuk about Hagisi Bo Yom of Laila, let's not forget that's from Sefer Yehoshua, okay, which is not Chumash. So like, is that just expressing an ideal? You know, like it's funny, he doesn't quote any psukim other than the ones he quoted at the beginning that are the source of the mitzvah. Like he quoted a bunch of psukim in the beginning of V'hodatam levanecha v'levanecha and limadtam osamas b'nechem and v'shiantam levanecha. But there's no pasuk that says you have to learn in Chumash that says you have to learn day and night. You know, so maybe this is expressing the ideal, but then, you know, again, we're back to square one. Okay, this is the next line that, oh, see, I'm in conflict here. Okay, should we do this? Yeah, we have time to do this. Okay, so this we're going to spend some time on, a little, you know, probably at least one whole session, but let's just read it first. We did this last year also. Ad masai chayav lilmod Torah, until when are you obligated to learn Torah? Ad yom moso, until the day of your death.
Wait, we did test?
We did tests. Yeah, that was the one about the jobs. Yeah. So until when are you obligated to learn Torah? Until the day of your death. Shneimar, as it says, "Ufen yasiru milvavcha kol yimei chayacha," lest you remove them from your heart all the days of your life. B'chol zman shelo yasok b'limud hu shacheach, and as long as you're not involved in learning, you forget. So that's another weird thing, right? What's weird about saying until when do you have to learn Torah until the day of your death? Yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the question.
This pattern of like,
Yeah.
Like how would you, like what other phrasing would you?
Yeah, you it's not necessary at all. Right. Right.
For all of your existence.
Right.
So why do you need to bring like a whole
Until the day of your death. Right. Yeah. Also, another similar problem is, why doesn't he say, until when are you obligated to believe in God? Until the day of your death. Until when are you obligated to love God? Until the day of your death. Until when are you, you know, like, it's weird that he has to say that at all. And then once he's saying it, like, why here, you know? And then also the context here is Ufen yasiru milvavcha kol yimei chayacha, Devarim Daled Tes. What's the context of that? Anyone know? Devarim Perek Daled? Going once. Devarim Perek Daled going twice. It is talking about forgetting Har Sinai. Okay, let's just look at it inside here, which is not, so he says, oh, that is Breshis Perek Daled. That is about Kain and Hevel. Interesting slip on my part. Okay. So it says, starting at Ches. Umi goy gadol asher lo chukim umishpatim tzadikim kol haTorah hazos asher anochi nosein lefnechem hayom. What great nation has chukim umishpatim that are righteous, like this entire Torah that I'm giving you today? Raki shamar lecha, but be careful for yourself. Ushmor nafshcha me'od, and guard your soul exceedingly. Pentishkach es hadavarim, which is all the Rambam quoted, right? Rambam said, Pentishkach, oh no, not yet. Pentishkach, we're going to go back. Pentishkach es hadavarim asher ra'u einacha, lest you forget the things that your eyes saw. Ufen yasiru milvavcha kol yimei chayacha, unless you remove them from your heart all the days of your life. V'hodatam levanecha v'livnei vanecha, and teach them to your children and your children's children. So what is he talking about? You would think he was talking about the chukim mishpatim, but then he says, no. Yom asher amadta lifnei Hashem elakacha b'chorev, the day that you stood before Hashem your God at Sinai. The Emor Hashem Elai, when Hashem said to me, Hakel li es am v'ashmim es tavarai, asher yilamadun le'yira osi kol hayamim asher him chayim al hadama ve'es b'nehem yilamedun. Same words. Hashem gathered me and said, Hashem said to me, gather to me all the people, and I will make heard to them my words, which they shall learn in order to fear me all the days that they live on the land, them and their children. So, and then it goes into a whole thing about Sinai and what they did and didn't see, and saying, don't forget that. Yeah. Yeah. All these things. Yeah. So the context is Sinai, but he's using this pasuk as you shouldn't forget anything in all the Torah that you learn. So it's just a weird thing, you know? And then he says, and anytime you're not involved in Torah, you forget. Okay, well, so what? Does that mean that, like, yeah, first of all, what's the connection to the death thing, you know? And also like there's a mitzvah to learn, And now he's saying you have to keep being involved so that you don't forget. Does that mean that like the mitzvah is really to learn and to maintain? Does it mean that if you the mitzvah that you should learn, and if you don't maintain it, then that like undermines your learning, like you're not really learning? Like what if you have a bad memory? Like, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, it doesn't feel so crazy to say that the mitzvah is to learn to maintain.
No, it doesn't feel crazy, especially in the framework we said before of the maintaining of the Masorah.
Right.
You know?
And like even if you have bad memory, well, that's why you gotta keep being involved in learning.
Yeah, right.
Like, maybe he's working with a premise that all humans don't necessarily, or as a general rule of thumb, don't have, you know, great memories.
Yeah.
So just stay involved in it.
Right.
And it'll be
The natural state of man is to forget.
Right.
Yeah, but I like your other question that requires thought of what is the connection between the forgetting and then the day of death thing.
Right.
I mean, I know the connection is the puzzle, because the puzzle says, lest you remove them from your heart all the days of your life, which he's reading as forgetting. Yeah.
The Rambam's metaphysical theory is when you die, do you cease to, I guess, do you what you're saying, I guess, loving Hashem or knowing Hashem?
Yeah. Presumably that ends up being a perfection of your soul, but he holds that memory, that's an interesting thing, because memory, according to the Rambam, is part of the physical. So you, your soul is affected by your knowledge, but your memories are gone when you die.
Mm-hmm.
So
your soul could still be
shaped by the knowledge somehow. Yeah.
Depending on what you involve yourself in.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another thing. Let's just do a couple more, and then we'll decide next week what we want to go back into in depth, because this next part is going to take us, this is going to be what I really want to focus on. And this is the same halacha according to the Rambam, part of the same halacha, which is also weird why he pairs it with this. You have to divide your learning time in thirds. Shlish b'torah shebechsav, a third in the written Torah. Shlish b'torah sheba'al peh, a third in the oral Torah, which is the halachos, which is the Mishnah Torah. Okay. Ushlish yavin v'yaskil acharis davar mereshiso, a third of the time you spend understanding and comprehending the end of a matter from its beginning, v'yotzi davar midavar, and you derive one matter from another, v'yadama davar ladavar, and you compare one matter to another, v'yadin b'midos she'atorah nidreshes behen, and you apply the midos that the Torah is expounded through, ad sheyida heachu ikar hamidos, until you know what the essence of these midos is, v'heach yotia asar v'mutar, and how you derive the permissible, prohibited, and the permissible, v'kiyos behem midvarim shalom and piyashmua, and other things like that from what you learn from Torah sheba'al peh. The inyan zehu nikar Talmud, and that whole process is what we call Talmud. So dividing into thirds, right? Third Torah sheba'al third Torah sheba'al peh, third Talmud. We did this last year in the context of Rabbeinu Tam, is what all Ashkenazim rely on, that, oh, we don't need to do this because we get everything through Talmud Bavli. And I went a little tirade against that. Yeah. Yeah, it was a Thursday night cheer, I think. Yeah.
So he's including Gemara and Torah.
So the way to think about it in the Rambam's terms is like this. No, it's not Torah sheba'al peh. Gemara is a written expression of the thought process, which is Talmud. In other words, Torah shebechsav is text. Torah sheba'al peh is oral explanations of that in halakhic terms. And then Talmud is a thought process of understanding how these halachos come about and what they are and how to apply them and all this other stuff. But it's a thought process. You know, the Rav gave an analogy. I don't know where he says this. I've just heard this secondhand. Is like the Rav held up a volume of like a Masechta of Gemara. He says, he said he held up a math book, and he said, "Is this book mathematics?" No. This book is a written expression of mathematics is the thought process, and this is just aspects of it that are written down. Same thing with Gemara, with Talmud. Talmud is an analysis, a mode of analysis, and what we call Talmud Bavli is a written down version of that, you know, but not the sum total of it. Yeah. Let's read one more paragraph, because this is when he explains what when he exemplifies it. Ketzad, how do you do this? Let's say you are a craftsman, you know, you have a job. You work for 3 days. 3 hours, 3 hours a day. Okay. That leaves you 9 hours to learn Torah. Yeah, not possible anymore. Osa Natesha, for those 9 hours, Kore b'shlosh mehen b'torah shebechsav. You read Torah shebechsav for 3 of those hours. Uv'shlosh shaos b'torah sheba'al peh. For the other 3 hours, you read Torah sheba'al peh, or learn Torah sheba'al peh. Uvashalosh, and then in the other third, 3 hours, meets bonin bedato l'havin davar midavar. You apply your mind to understand one thing from another in the way we said it above. V'divrei Kabbalah, that means Nevim and Ksuvim, not Kabbalah like Kabbalah stuff. Bichlal Torah B'Ksav, they're included in Torah B'Ksav, meaning it's not just Chumash, it's all of Tanakh. Uperushan, and their explanation, Bichlal Torah B'Peh, is included in Torah B'Peh. V'ha'inyanos anikraim pardes, and the matters that are called pardes, that's metaphysics, that's Maser Merkava, Maser Bereshis, Bichlal Talmud, that's included in Talmud.
Actually, you say also, but one question, I guess one depends on what he's saying. You, I guess, a miracle, though, I guess, like, how much do you think he, like, are you willing to live in a apartment?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the big reason why we can't do what the Rambam is talking about is because of the standards of living. The basic standards of living are so much higher. And for example, I guess what people wanted. Well, there was the thing also, I guess, tuition. Yeah. There's no problem. Let's go more basic than tuition. Like, do you need electricity and running water to live? No, you don't. But in our society, it's like unthinkable to not have electricity and running water, you know? So like, but back then, like basic needs were much more basic, you know?
Let me just ask, do you need 2 bedrooms?
Right, exactly. People had a 1-bedroom room and all the family members slept in one bed, you know, and you wore the same pair of shoes until they literally fell apart, you know, if you had shoes. So like, it's just a much different standard of living, you know? Yeah.
Part of the job we can do remotely, so like so long as they are a high-end doctor, and like the rest of the time you're living in Africa where everything's cheap.
Right. Yeah, and there are ways to do that kind of stuff nowadays. It's just you know, you got to work for it. Okay, so let's stop here for today. And B'li Neder, in my Sunday shir, I'm going to be talking about the that halacha in the Rambam that we just did. So that's kind of what I wanted to get through of the dividing into thirds. Yeah. Alrighty. What about the standard of living thing? Are we going to talk about that more here? Yeah, we can talk about it here. Not in the Sunday shir, but we can talk about it here. Yeah. Alrighty. See you, Shimon.
See you.